What do all those guys have in common like we started the show? All those guys have great coordinators. Jalen, get this. All these Dak has Mike McCarthy, who's calling the best football of his life. Purdy's got Kyle. Lamar's got the new coordinator in Baltimore. Mahomes is Andy Reid. Jalen is Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson? Mr. Johnson, can you please come to the front desk? Airport security wants to check you. I mean, Mr. Johnson. All right, let's get out of this. And I couldn't wait to talk to this guy because this guy's the star of the show today. Because you know what? The warm-up act was Warren Moon. Now we go from Warren Moon to the legend and the legendary Philly.500 as he joins us now. Yeah,
just bury me right now. Warren Moon, come on, man. Warren Moon's like one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Are you kidding me?
He was your opening act.
Ah, man, I'm just honored to be in the same show as a Warren Moon. Are you kidding me? Jeez.
How about that moniker we got next to your name? Is that appropriate?
Yes, it is.
All right, Philly. Are you as okay, no, I don't want to set the deck here. Let me do this to you. Your takeaway from the Cowboy game.
Pissed off, man. I'm really angry. I was depressed the night of. Now I'm starting to become really pissed off. I thought the Eagles showed me once again, like I felt like I was watching the 5th quarter, the 6th quarter, the 7th quarter, and the 8th quarter of the 49ers game. There was no change. You would never have thought the Philadelphia Eagles were a team that just got embarrassed. Everybody's talking about, play calling, this, that, the other. I'm trying to figure out why this team didn't want to play because I didn't feel like they wanted to play. I felt like after the Jalen Hurts fumble early on, all the air went out of that team. And that was it.
How about this too, Philly? Where do you start? The defense, the offense, the coordinators, the quarterback? You could go anywhere. And it just seemed like a massive disconnect. Doesn't that fall back on the head coach?
Yeah, I do. I think it is the coaching. I think it goes back to what you were saying. Nobody wanted to believe you last week about what you were saying about Frank Reich and the analytics. But my feeling is when you take what you said and then you look at what was said about the Eagles not being satisfied or players thinking they're too predictable, I think it's the game plan. I think these guys come in, they don't believe in the game plan they're playing, and then early when it doesn't go well, they get down. And then once they go in and for most of the season and they have to adjust, they come out and they start to roll. But when you play two good teams, that's not always going to be the way it is. I think there's so much credence in what you said. I know people have been dismissive of it, but I absolutely think that's the problem.
Let me throw something at you that Tone and I were talking about earlier, and you tell me if you subscribe to this. I think everything we're seeing right now is why Doug Peterson was fired, and I'm going to explain to you what I'm talking about because it expands on what you guys or what you and I were bringing up and talking about last week about the analytics guys. Don't you think it's ironic that Super Bowl team in 2017, you had Schwartz, you had Doug, and you had Frank, 3 dudes or 2 dudes, maybe not so much Frank, but that would push back on the analytics department and on the personnel department. Do you know we went back and looked that 17 team, that there were moves that were made in season for that to win that. Do you fast forward that to 2020? Do you know that Howie Roseman barely made any moves in season to try to turn around a 4-11-1 season when that thing was just a few years removed from winning a Super Bowl? My opinion, This guy, and this is where this battle was for power in the building between Howie and Doug, he made no moves that year.
Yeah.
And you would think that that would be something that would be perfect and right up his alley when it came to bringing in 1,000 different guys. He's bringing in 1,000 different guys off the street now. Why wouldn't he have done that then? He didn't want to. Then he ends
Yeah.
that whole fiasco with Nate Sudfeld. And
Right.
then think about this. After that whole fiasco, what does he do? He goes out and he hires the most inexperienced coaches that he could possibly find. So his analytics department. Now, let me ask you this about Wentz. Didn't he do the same thing after Frank left by not putting quality coaches in the building? And the Doug wanted to elevate certain guys. There was a battle. It just seems to me, why would you spend $50 million, Philly, on a quarterback, and he has the least experienced coaches of any of the MVP candidates?
I mean, it's a great question. I guess, I guess I was fooled into it in a way because I thought, well,
The record
Brian
fooled
Johnson,
you.
yeah, the record fooled you, and then the fact that Brian Johnson knows Jalen Hurts and has a relationship with him, and he was here from the beginning, so you figured he would know what works, what doesn't work. But it goes deeper to that with the whole Doug thing. There was, and this hasn't been talked about a lot, but there were reports when Doug got fired that he would have to weekly meet with the owner and Howie Roseman and discuss specifically why were you running here? Why were you doing this here? Like, he was under scrutiny all the time. And they fired a coach that won a Super Bowl and then went to 3 straight playoff games, and he got fired. So, Howie is never going to give up control.
I don't believe those meetings go on today, and I'll tell you why. That means Howie would have to answer for his analytics team, giving these guys the information that these guys put the game plan together to, because Nick was told by Frank to go along, to get along is how you're going to last a long time, as that coach in that building. And that's what he does. There's not those Doug Peterson, why you're answering on beating Atlanta 17-14 questions.
Right.
I mean, Doug probably had to answer for the Philly special.
Probably, yeah.
Because that's not an analytics play.
Right. Oh, no. And the weird thing is literally it's the same game plan every week. The analytics tells them the same thing every week. Come out throwing and then try to run more in the second half. It's that simple to figure out their game plan. So I think that, I think it's on Nick Sirianni. I think this is the week where I'm going to know everything I need to know about him after this week.
So we'll find out if we think that he really is a good coach or not this week, if he can rally the troops. Because that's going to be a tough ball game.
Yeah, it's a tough game. We don't win there. And one thing you could say about Seattle, they come out and they hit. If you look at the 49ers game, you look at Dallas, they hit us. They hit us. They finish us. Yeah, they almost beat Dallas too. But those teams, they look like the desperate, hungry team, and we look like either we were really tired, frustrated, didn't want to be there. I don't know, but I don't look at the 49ers game and the Dallas game and go, oh my God, those teams are just so much better than us. I'm saying to myself, this team is not showing up. They are not showing up. And before we worry about all these other things about game call and stuff, I got to know why these players are not tuned in for this game. That's what I want.
Did you have the impression coming away from that Niner game that Seattle played the 49ers harder than the Eagles played them?
Yeah, absolutely. They played them better. They hung around.
That's scary.
With Lockett, right?
Yeah, and DK. That's scary.
And I think part of that is that they're a division rivalry.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's part of it. But I was just so disappointed. I'm just so angry about the way this team played. Like, I don't feel like this team. I don't know. I don't know if they're just tired. They have deadly. I don't want to make excuses, but they don't look right. Just their demeanor. I mean, they keep showing shots. You see Jalen Hurts sitting on the sideline. He's sitting on the bench just like this, not talking to anybody. Devontae Smith, same thing. I mean, these guys look frustrated about something, and I think there's something going on.
they looked as disconnected as that game plan.
Yeah. The
Hey,
last
would
2
we
weeks
not
especially.
agree? I keep hearing people say this about the team all week long that, there's like, guys are not on the same page and, they're becoming predictable. I say this, man, I don't think it's a team thing. I think it's an organizational thing. The organization is very predictable on how they
Yeah,
do business. I mean, the way they scheme, the way they draft, the way they sign guys, the way
right.
they hire coordinators, the way it it's almost like a clock. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing like. Have you ever seen a jet? I think I've seen one jet sweep this year, and there's just no
No,
creativity with the
none.
entire process. It just, I think they're very predictable in everything they do, from coaching to signing of players.
Yeah, I have to agree. Specifically, with the game plan, the play calling. I mean, there are things like, I could be watching the game as a fan, and the few times they actually blitz, I know exactly where it's coming from, so I can read it before the snap. So the quarterback can. The players know on first down the Eagles are going to throw. So if I know this by looking at the way they're set up, the defense knows it. They're very, very predictable, and
So,
they don't
so
play
Nick
to their players'
Sirianni,
strength.
so Nick
This is
Sirianni
it.
just said at his press conference, Philly, no changes will be made. He will not have more of an
Inter-
influence in the play calling. And we're
Mhm.
10-3. We control our own destiny. Our coaches are doing a good job at what we're doing right now. I have complete faith in our coaches. Is that him we're talking, or is that Howie Roseman talking?
I think that no matter whether he's telling the truth or not, he's got to say that. Like
So
I
you
don't
got a
think
coach
he
with no
can't say that.
backbone.
Yeah, because he's got to say it. He can't say anything else. And they are 10-3. I mean, do you want to
True.
throw up the panic button too? So I think he has to say it. But the proof of the pudding is going to be this Monday, because to me, if they come out the way they came out the last 2 weeks, just from an energy standpoint, a speed standpoint, a demeanor, how they carry themselves, they're going to lose. And if they lose, then that tells me, in my opinion, that this coach lost that locker room. I swear that's what I'm going to think. If you can't get fired up to go play this game after the way those two games have gone, and you don't come out swinging, uh, you don't want to come out fighting. I'm sorry, I don't think the coaches are getting ready. These guys ready. The only guy I saw fighting in that Dallas game was AJ Brown. Nobody else. I watch these guys get hit, get pushed, get cheap shotted, and the team doesn't rally around each other. They don't stand up for each other. I mean, something is not right. I don't know how you go from a team that never gives up and will be in it to the end, to a team that doesn't show up.
What if they lose one of those New York games?
To Danny DeVito,
Hey, think
I
about
actually
this.
like that kid, but
Hey, look here. Let me
oh,
say this to you. That thing's a train wreck in New York, and yet they're still mathematically alive in the playoff race at 5-8, and they've won 3 in a row. And
yeah,
I think the kid's done a decent job. He's not a frontline guy. He's a backup. He's like the Cooper Rush guy. That's who he's going
right,
to be, or that white kid that's down in Miami now behind Tagovailoa. He's nobody special. However, you got a
yeah,
coach that's rallying the troops here, and you got another coach
yeah,
in an organization that's treading water. And
yeah,
I think the record gives them the benefit of the doubt, because you
yeah.
wouldn't be saying this right now, Philly, if they weren't 10-3, and say they were 7-5 or something.
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen, you never know. You've got to play those games out. Giants are a division rival. They're playing good football, and I'm sure they're going to want to play spoiler. And I don't mean and I'm frustrated by the last 2 weeks, but I also think that this is a good team, and I do think, though you can't fix certain things, you just got to get to the off season. I do think they can change direction and get back on track. I do believe that they're that talented and they're good enough to do it. But to me, the way they've just approached these two games coming into them, it seems like something's off, and they got to figure it out. And I think it's all on Nick Sirianni this week. If he can't do it this week, Sills, the Giant game ain't going to matter, because if you lose this game and you end up being the 5th seed,
Yep.
it's over. It's over. They got to be
Final
the number
question
2
for you.
seed.
Who wins on Monday night?
The Eagles. The Eagles. Because I think they
Close,
Yeah.
or blowout?
I think it's close.
Because they played close games all year.
Well, and Seattle, the one thing I know of Seattle is they're going to play physical. They have a great home field advantage. They're desperate. But I've got to think, and a lot of the reasons why I'm saying the Eagles is because of my belief in Jalen Hurts. I believe that this team ain't nothing without him. And if he had carried us with many comeback victories, we would be trash. But I believe, I've got to believe they're going to find a way to right this ship and get going again. But it's not going to be easy, and it's not guaranteed. Not if they come out with the same with the same effort. Because I think it's an effort thing, the way they came out versus Dallas and 49ers. They came out, they moved the ball, boom, Jalen Hurts fumbles. Did you see how they were having to consult? Like, it just looked like the whole team deflated. And I blame the coach on that, man. So I think they have to win this game, and I think they will, because the alternative is it's over. It's like I got a clean house, man.
How was your attitude as you were streaming the game? You know what? I could see you kind of going, "Oh shit, it's the Niners got us this time. We beat them in the NFC title game, so we still got the better advantage in that whole thing." All right, okay, it happens. Yeah. But that Dallas ass kicking had to hurt a little. That had to hurt like when you were a kid.
It hurt so much. It hurt big time. But it was like, a lot of times, the games that are really close, you have a lot more of a reaction. To me, it was just like what is with this team? Like, I just had so many questions about what's with this team? What's with this effort? It was really disappointing. It was one of the most depressing games I've seen. Now I have to hear that Dak Prescott's the MVP. I have to hear all this crap.
Slam dunk MVP.
I would give it to Tyreek Hill way before I'd give it to Dak Prescott. Did you see Miami? They look completely different if Tyreek Hill's not on the field. I think if Tyreek Hill gets 2,000 yards, you have to give it to him. You have to give him the MVP.
I think they're going to drop that game in Buffalo this week.
I do too. I think they're going to drop Buffalo and Miami.
Yeah, or Detroit.
Yeah.
I think you have not proven to me in Dallas that you can win multiple weeks against good teams yet, because you've beaten one team that's good, who's kind of on vapors after going through. Get this too. You know what really sucks about where we are right now? Think about this. Say you beat Seattle. So you beat Dallas, you beat Kansas City, you beat Buffalo, then you beat the Seahawks, and you lost to the Niners and the Cowboys. You really lost to one team. You beat the team, you split. Yeah. You have a problem being 4-2?
No, I don't.
That means you would be on pace for 14-3.
Yeah, I expect we'd be 14-3, and at worst we'd be the number 2 seed. Now, if you tell me we play Dallas in Philly, Dallas ain't beating us. I think whichever team plays at home is going to win that game. So I still think that if the Eagles could just get back on track, I think it's going to be them and the 49ers again. And listen, 49ers are better right now. The 49ers are the best team in football.
But you lose one player. That team wobbles
one player. That's right. Yeah, and if Baltimore, I'm about to be praying for Baltimore, baby. Go Baltimore that night. But we got to take care of business.
I think they beat them.
Yeah,
well, I think Baltimore's good.
See, I just don't. I think our defense is trash. Like, you're not fixing your linebacking situation till the offseason. You're not fixing your corners.
You're going into week 15, Philly. Anybody that tells you this is going to straighten out, it's not.
Right. But there's a few things that they can do. If they can get their offense going, get a little more bounce, maybe add some running, bring back the RPOs, get the offense going, stop the turnovers, and then get back to stopping the run like you did early in the year. They can do damage. I believe that. But I think this is it. Like, if Sirianni can't get this team to at least go out and put a good effort in, because I don't think that the effort versus the Cowboys was good at all. I don't think they gave their all that game.
Holy cow, that looks like Philly.500 is getting ready to turn the sundial up, turn it over on Nick. If he loses that game on
that, he's becoming a meta.
Start going through that dial there on you.
He's becoming a metagon very, very quick. So,
very good, my friend. You were awesome, my God Almighty, man. I'm really glad that the opening act of Warren Moon led to this, because this was spectacular. Very well done, my friend. Thank you so much. Hey, tell the folks how they can find you.
Type in Philly.500 or just type in Philly.500. You'll find me there.
How about if we typed in Dallas Stinks? Can we find you there too?
Yeah, if you had Still Stinks, I'll probably show up. Yeah, or Denzel Washington, since I look like him.
Philly, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my man. Take care.
You got it. That is Philly.500. So Nick Sirianni says everything is all good in Hooterville. Is that right? With like the Grinch that stole Christmas. It's all good. It's all good in Eagleville. I want to hit on that. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near, shop, have a beer. Christmas shopping shouldn't be hard. Give your friends a Hooters gift card.
This year, stuff their stockings and yours too with a one-size-fits-all gift card. Buy a $25 Hooters gift card and receive a $5 Santa's bonus card. Make it Hooters for the holidays.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near, gift cards are here. Good at Hooters everywhere now. Hooters gifts are always favored.